Hey, welcome everyone. We are live in Amsterdam, Netherlands here at the Sitecore User Group Conference, Europe 2017. My name is Pete Navarra, I'm with Connective DX, and I'm going to be your moderator for this episode of Catching Exceptions Roundtable discussion. I am actually joined by Catching Exceptions' very own Mark Stiles, Amanda Shiga from Nonlinear Creations, and Sitecore's very own Lars Nielsen. So our topic today is actually practical uses in machine learning and web development, web marketing. So I want us to just start with a quick warm-up question. Mark, you just finished your panel here at SUGCON going over your cognitive services. Just tell us a little bit about your inspiration behind it.
Microsoft released their own cognitive services, which is a whole host of different APIs that analyze all kinds of different data, give you all this information. Being able to take advantage of that now is just, it was too much for me to ignore. So I went in head first, I integrated it into Sitecore, made it look native, and released it to the open sources, to the community as open source, so that we can all take advantage of it and improve it and make it better.
Nice. And Amanda, you also had a panel today where you were showcasing machine learning and data mining. As we move forward with technology, more and more tools are being leveraged to use that. Azure has the sophisticated machine learning. We all know about IBM Watson. Tell us a little bit about the road you went down.
Yeah, sure. So I played with a lot of them. I was really curious about everything that was out there. It was a lot of fun. They all take a different approach, which is really interesting. Watson, for example, is more, they want you to just put your data up and then they'll turn it into really pretty graphs, but you don't have as much access to the behind the scenes. Azure Machine Learning has a pipeline approach, so you can use their operators or you can put in your own R code or anything like that. And then the one I actually settled on using is called RapidMiner, which is a desktop application. But I just really liked the approach they took to the graphical user interface and the ease in which I could run my machine learning pipeline. Yeah.
Nice. So to the group, in terms of just the present day practical use cases for machine learning, what are some of those that we can potentially start thinking about for websites and web technology?
Cognitive services, of course, is a great example of understanding language, understanding pictures in content management, and they'll use that for recommendations, but also other types of machine learning, such as in the context of Sitecore with the experience database, trying to understand which of the interactions that matter for a certain persona type. So, and that's where you really start merging different layers of machine learning together with segmentation, which is clustering machine learning techniques, and then you would be using deep learning to understand which of the interactions for a specific cluster that matters. And I think we'll be starting and seeing much more of what Mark he's going with in terms of the content editing experience recommendation, auto taxonomies. But over time, you'll see much more advanced usage of machine learning.
Where do you see some of the data mining techniques that as practical use cases? Where do you see some of those fitting in?
For me, data mining, data science and machine learning applied to digital marketing is all about, I think clustering is a big part of it, but I think automating human decision. So if we think of the end-to-end business process of content marketers, what are the areas within that we can speed it up, or we can sort of remove the element of human judgment and replace it with what a machine can predict?
A lot of it is stuff we haven't even thought of yet. If you really think back like 15 years ago what search was, search allowed you to take this huge amount of information, text information, and reach into it and find the things you're looking for. What machine learning is able to do is do the same type of thing, but with any type of data, not just text. It can take analytics or medical data or anything that you can structure, and it can help you get insights into looking into that data set.
Yeah, it seems like there's really a broad spectrum of use cases that could potentially be applied here. Lars, in my own travels, some of the most common excuses behind a company not using machine learning I've heard has been like, oh, it's too scary, too complicated, we don't know what we don't know, so we don't want to use it, our users wouldn't benefit from it, cost too much. Why are companies so shy to jump on this machine learning bandwagon?
The obstacle is that people think it takes away decisions from them. And it will not, but it will help them and help them guide them through some of these decisions. And over time, they learn to trust because it's much more accurate. They can see patterns that they can't see.
So as developers, do we feel that some of these feelings carry over to the development mindset?
I feel like a lot of developers just don't know about it. It just allows you to automate a lot of things that are stuff that you wouldn't really want to be doing anyway, right? Sifting through tons of images to find out the ones that are offensive and cutting them off.
Ideally, we can sort of skip past a lot of the grunt work that we typically do and have really nice insights much more automatically.
But I think, and then the evolution of that is, of course, to actively start using machine learning for stuff that people can't even do. Or which becomes where the machine becomes better at doing stuff than even humans could do. So that includes translations going forward, but also, trying to identify patterns that people can't and wouldn't simply be possible to do so.
Interesting. As developers, marketers, general problem solvers, what are some steps that we can take to actually promote machine learning and entice both our developers and our clients to give it a shot?
So I think what's been most successful to me is a couple of things. So one, it's got to be positioned as a little bit of an experimental pilot. So because the outcomes, it's often very exploratory. I found it most successful when it's positioned sort of adjacent to regular marketing operations or regular budget allocations kind of thing. And that's really been helpful. And I think as well, the second thing that really helps is when you're starting with a really solid business question. So we're not just saying, we've got this nice data set and we're going to go try stuff. It's actually, we want to solve this, and here's a tool that we can use to give us even more insight than we were normally expecting.
For the developers, I think it's about excitement. I don't want to play on the hype curve and not trying to, get everybody riled up about something that it's not, but there is a lot of things that it can do, and there are a lot of interesting things that haven't been done. And being the pioneers to go and do that, I think, is really what will drive developers to get into it.
In Mark's panel today, he had a really great start, the beginning of it. He talked about how technology is evolving. If we were to extend our lens a little bit, what do we see the future holds in terms of machine learning and how that's going to affect web marketing?
Personally, I see the utopia as what I'll call the self-optimizing digital channel. I think right now we're at an interesting point where marketing teams are still trying to figure out, what's their optimization roadmap, etc. I wonder if eventually we'll actually leapfrog all of that, and that the technology will actually optimize itself.
I don't even think it's an utopia. It's where that's our vision. So we want a self-tuning platform. Even at this point, we would come up with recommendations because it's a matter of trust. So let me give you an example, and it's a simple example of the use of machine learning. But if you have an A/B test on a page where you have 4 variants, then right now in traditional A/B testing you would select one winner. But as Sitecore do dynamic clustering segmentation all the time, in fact we could identify multiple winners. When we did a test to the marketers, they couldn't accept that because they want to validate the results. So it's really the self-tuning. And that's just a simple example. It will be much more advanced going forward, but that is something of a matter of gaining trust. So the only thing that limits us for tuning the system quicker automatically is really the acceptance.
I think what's practical and possible is that not only is it a self-tuning machine, but that it actually communicates back with you. So at some point, it's making decisions, but it's also asking for your input. So it's getting back to you and it's saying, hey, look, we noticed that a lot of your customers are going and they're using 10% of your content. 90% of your content is almost useless. Would you like to make more content this way?
Yes.
Now the system is actually, it's like a two-way conversation. And it's helping you actually build the right content and, do more with your system.
Like a positive feedback loop, yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know if you guys saw the movie. I'm going to pull out a 90s reference here. But the movie Minority Report, which really doesn't have anything to do with marketing per se, but they had this great segment where the future is really somebody walking into a store, and as they look around, there's a retina scanner that really scans who that person is and then starts to display advertisements to that person. We start thinking about that kind of futuristic innovation. Is this really where marketing innovation is heading towards? Are we going to see that come to fruition?
I think what is right about that movie is everything is personalized, and everything is machine learning is everywhere, and every device that you have is personalized to you.
You'll probably end up with something different where it won't even be an ad, it'll be just a white wall, and you'll have like not a HoloLens. You probably have like some contacts and you'll see it, but that's probably it.
So, as we wrap up here, just conclude for this episode of Catching Exceptions, is there any last parting thoughts, just concepts that you guys want to convey regarding machine learning in general?
If you look in the context of Sitecore, you will be forced to learn about machine learning because that's the direction we are going. And I think, in general, in the world, as a developer, you have to learn about it anyway. So you might as well get started now. And it's an exciting time. It's really exciting. It's not scary. It's cool. It's fun. It gives us all kinds of capabilities that we haven't had before. And by jumping onto the wagon now, you would have a head start as a valuable developer going forward.
There's a saying I really like that's human creativity can never be outsourced. So the way to view this again is not as a threat, but as an amazing building block on which it's pushing the thought that we have to do to kind of yet another plane. And it's just really exciting, and it's going to push us to creative areas that we maybe haven't gone before. So.
Right. Well, thanks, guys, for taking the time to have this roundtable discussion. Really enjoyed it. Amanda, Lars, and Mark putting this together. Thank you so much.